unfamiliar with the way the Ultra 93 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada by Yokohama works, typically you could potentially have 3 classes racing on the track at the same time. Today we have 2. In the Platinum class, that is cars like the 98 of Zachary Robichon. You have the 78 of Roman DeAngelis, the 96 of Raymond Ricchetti. They're all Platinum class drivers. Then you have the Masters class, which is just essentially driver's age. That's really the only difference when it comes to the race cars. There are a few minor changes, but essentially they're a Platinum class car. The driver is a little bit more experienced in age, so they get to run in the Masters class. And then if we had any of the older models, Porsche GT3 Cup cars racing today, then they would fit into the Gold class, which would be down a little bit on horsepower and just a little bit older technology. Not too different, but essentially it's a stepping stone to get into the Platinum Cup.
It's a great way for everybody to get involved in the racing organization. Now, if you don't have the wherewithal, you haven't quite found the number of sponsors you need to make it all happen, it doesn't mean that you have to look for something else to do. It means that you can still do this. You can get involved. You can learn everything that you need to learn along the way in perhaps a slightly older automobile. That's all.
100%. You see the drivers now closing into more lap traffic as Zachary Robichon makes the pass in 5B, heading down the back straightaway. And I'm just trying to see who that driver is. It seems to be the number 14, so that will be Fanton, Michael Fanton. So he goes a lap down. The leaders have lapped up to almost Michael Mayo in the 6th position, so that is the pace that they've been putting down. However, the top 3 are all grouped together in a space that's under 3 seconds, so it's still very much a race for the lead. And you see Zachary Robichon isn't too far ahead. I mean, Roman DeAngelis can still see his taillights, and that will still give him enough oomph to try and catch him. He won't just sort of sit back and relax and wait. DeAngelis can see him, and he'll want to catch him.
Yeah, the separation between second and third, still the race of the day, that are the 78 of DeAngelis, the 96 of River City. Second, it has gotten down to, from time to time, as low as about 3/10, about half of that, which basically down the start-finish line here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park means about 1 car length. It's about 2 now as they just exit turn number 4 and head downhill toward the turn 5 area. Gently on the brakes under the rather using all of the racetrack and then some, putting 2 wheels over the white line as far as Rossetti trying to find a fast way out of turn number 5 and back up that straightaway. There's got to be a way to get around the DeAngelis 78 car on front end. He's looking for every possible scenario.
We may have found it that time. He got a great run out of 5B and down the Andretti straightaway. Did Remo Ricchetti as he tucks up in behind the 78 of Roman DeAngelis, and now to the outside in turn number 8, in through the grass and off into the runoff. Ricchetti back on the racetrack as he manages to save it. He loses the position back to Roman DeAngelis, but what a moment for the driver in 3rd spot, the 96 of Raymond Ricchetti.
Daring. I've got to give him that much. He basically said, I can get by him. He's going to make me do it on the outside, and all I have to do is convince the car to stick, and he didn't quite get the conversation finished.
No contact between these 2 drivers. There was space between them, but unfortunately for Ricchetti, it just wouldn't stick like he needed to on the outside of turn number 8. Given that a dry track, that pass would be made any day of the week. But unfortunately for Ricchetti, and fortunately for Ricchetti, that there was a paved runoff to the outside of turn number 8. He was able to steer it back onto the racing surface and resume his chase of the 78 of Roman DeAngelis, as the field did manage to put a lap down on the 77 car, Patrick Dussault. Saw Dussault a little bit slow just as we were going through that pass and pass back up in turn number 8. But this is where it all started for Remo Ricchetti. He was able to get out of 5 so very quickly, through 6, and then down the back straightaway, and able to draft the 78 of Roman DeAngelis, who took a defensive line on the inside. Take nothing away from the way he defended his position. He opened up the outside and said, you're going to work for this one if you want to take it. And that's exactly what Ricchetti tried to do, and unfortunately just didn't quite work out for him.
He basically said, if you want to get by me, well, you certainly can, but I'm going to do it the hard way.
See, there is the leader, and the gap is now just over 2 seconds. So Zachary Robichaud with a cushion now over second place is Mark Motors Racing teammate of Roman DeAngelis. Remo Ricchetti, as we mentioned, holding down third. Then Stefan Rudzinski in the Speedstar Motorsports. Number 8, Downtown Porsche backing that entry as well. He's holding down fourth, and then we'll run through the top 5. Jeff Kingsley, another great outing for the rookie in the 16 Paulo Caro Motorsport entry. He's in fifth. He's a little bit behind. He's about 25 seconds back, maybe even a little bit more than that as he waits to cross the line here on the front straightaway. But definitely having a good outing in very, very tough conditions here this afternoon.
And in spite of the very, very tough conditions and the challenges in front of him, it doesn't look as though the battle for second place of Rossetti is over by any stretch. Everything but the tail of the DeAngelis car in front of him at the exit of turn number 5. He almost had to avoid running into the back bumper.
I think he did. He got a great run, and I don't think he was expecting to have such a great run through 5A and 5B, and managed to reel in your second-place runner, the 78 of Roman DeAngelis. But, again, he just had to get out of the gas, or else he would have made contact with the driver ahead, so that cost him the run down the back straightaway. Again, 21 minutes into this 45-minute timed race, so there's still lots of racing, and DeAngelis had a moment there as he came upon a lap car of Neil Walker in the 83 and had to get offline. Martin Harvey in the McDonald's 08 will go to the inside as he'll let the faster drivers go around the outside. That nearly cost both DeAngelis and Remo Ricchetti some time.
And I've heard of, basically the race order is if you want to get around somebody, you'll have to find your way. He doesn't have to get out of yours. And that's exactly what happened in turn number 1. One of the slower machines a little bit further down the race order through turn number 1 could have moved over, could have made things easy, but basically said, hey, I'm racing too. If you're going to go around me, you know what has to happen.
What I love watching about this battle for second spot is that both these drivers are taking very, very different lines at nearly every corner around this racetrack. Roman DeAngelis is taking a more traditional line through 5A and 5B. Remo Ricchetti is way up on the outside, bouncing off that outside curve and trying to get a run down this Andretti straightaway, and it looks like we might have a little bit of a tow this time. I don't know if he'll be close enough to make a move in turn number 8. And he won't. He'll just take a look on the inside, but won't commit, and he'll tuck back in line. But again, these two drivers worrying about each other means the 98 of Zachary Robichaud able to get away a little bit at the front of the field. He's now has a lead of almost 4 seconds over this battle for second spot. Actually, just a little bit more than 4 seconds. 4.19 for your leader, Zachary Robichaud.
Zachary's got 4/10 of a second over his two competitors immediately behind in second and third place, and the distance between the second and third place, 4/10 from first to second. The number from second to third is half of that. They're close.
Yeah, very much so. Good look at a pair of entries backed by Porsche Center Oakville. We got a car off, and it looks like Michael Fanton in the 14. And is that turn number 8? Potentially? Yes, I believe it is turn number... No, it might not be turn number 8. It is, yeah, it is turn number 8. He got around. Now he's going to come by our position here in turn number 10, so it doesn't appear to be any damage to the number 14 of Michael Fanton.
But as Michael exits turn number 10 down the start-finish line, gently accelerating as if to not alert the team as to how far off the pace the car might have been. It's everything's fine. Thanks for asking.
Back at this dice here between the pair of Policaro Motorsports entries. Michael DeMaio in the 35 in his very first start in a GT3 Cup car. Jeff Kingsley, who has a couple starts under his belt after racing in Sebring in rounds number 1 and 2, is chasing him, and I Yeah, it is actually 4 positions. So Michael DeMaio, something happened to Jeff Kingsley, and he dropped back a position, and Michael DeMaio is taking advantage and holds down the 5th spot. Still a gap back to the 4th position runner of Stefan Rudzinski in the 8th. But these two drivers having a great little dice amongst themselves for 5th and 6th.
Interesting team color schemes. The paint scheme of the cars is identical, except one's red and the other's blue. Good-looking cars.
Definitely, and the drivers, Kingsley especially, does have a lot of experience here on this track. He's raced in the Canadian Touring Car Championship and some other disciplines as well. So he has many, many laps here on this track. This is his first stop here in a GT3 Cup car behind the wheel of that number 16. So again, it's that getting comfortable with what this car can do at different times. And race cars are very much like an old shoe. I mean, if you've been in a race car a long time, you know exactly what it's going to do in what conditions. If you're brand new to one, you kind of don't want to break it. So you're gonna maybe go a little bit easier than you would if you had done it several times. Somebody like Zachary Robichaux knows exactly what this car will do in the rain. He knows exactly what it'll do in the dry, so he knows when to push and he knows when to pull back. Somebody like Jeff Kingsley, who's just getting his feet wet, will be learning, and there he goes around the 14 of Michael Fanton in the engineered automotive Porsche GT3
Jeff
Cup.
Kingsley continued to circulate in his car. Isn't quite as familiar as some of the people running up front. Basically is tiptoeing around through some of the tighter pieces of the race course because he really doesn't want or have to tell somebody that he was surprised.
100%. You can see he did lose a little bit of time to Michael DeMaio in the 35, but there is that battle for second spot. It has cooled off just a little bit between Roman DeAngelis, the 96, the open road entry of Raymond Ricchetti. Now look at Ricchetti way up on the outside in 5B. And this is where he gets his great run down the back straightaway. It all starts there as they continue to chase the number 98 of Zachary Robichaux. The man from Ottawa, Ontario, finished 3rd in points 2 years ago. He finished 2nd in points 1 year ago. And now comes into this race leading the points here in the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada by Yokohama.
It's as if he goes through turn number 5 and basically is giving himself another 10 or 15 meters of acceleration zone. He can accelerating 10 or 15 meters before the racer in front of him. It might pay dividends at the end of the straightaway, and well, he's working on that equation as the race goes on.
Now you can see DeAngelis has adjusted his line through turn number 1. He's taking a little bit wider berth, but again, just 0.4 of a second between these two drivers as they slide out into the runoff area in turn number 2. Again, taking advantage of every piece of this racetrack. And DeAngelis got a little bit squirrely as he dropped 2 wheels off into the runoff area as he turned into turn number 3. So off the exit of turn 2, he was cutting back across the track, and it just got a little bit squirrely there.
Interesting, perhaps a contrast between the two driving styles. It looks as though Roman DeAngelis in the 78 car uses a little bit more room on the exit of the corners to stretch out how fast he can go through the corners. On the other side of the equation, the Rossetti 96 car doesn't care so much about how fast he goes through the corners. He wants to accelerate further. So one wants to go through corners faster, the other wants to drive down the straightaways faster, and so far, nobody has an advantage.
Definitely not, as they come covered by a blanket in through turn number 8 once again. So it is still the... Oh, we've got a car around, and it is the 83 of Neil Walker. So Walker goes for a loop in turn number 8, just a local yellow as he gets it right, and he'll join the fray once again, but that was just in front of that battle for second spot.
Yeah, it's not what either one of the two drivers battling for second place wants to see is somebody sliding off the race course in front of them, because they don't want to get tangled up with anybody else's problems. They've got lots of their own. Thank you very much.
And they'll be concentrating on each other again. The visibility seems to be improving. You can still see a little bit of spray from these Yokohama tires coming off the race surface, but it's not quite as bad as it was a little bit earlier on. I mean, the rain has essentially stopped around the racetrack. We were seeing a little bit of drizzle earlier on, but the heaviest of the rain has stopped. Now a little bit of sunshine would go a long way to drying this racing surface, but at least the drivers aren't dealing with as much spray as they once were.
It seems so. If there was any kind of precipitation, it may have drifted off to our east. Because I have yet to see anybody within the last half hour carrying an umbrella. It doesn't mean it's not raining, but it's not raining hard enough for somebody to look for an umbrella.
Exactly. Working in through lap traffic once again. That is the 84 of Perry Bortolotti. As he pulls to the side of the track and lets this battle rage once again. And did you see Remo Ricchetti get hard on the brakes and another big wiggle? And he's off into the dirt once again in turn number 8. Caught a little bit of the runoff, then crosses back over the dirt and back onto the racetrack. But another moment again in turn number 8 for the open road driver in the 96, Remo Ricchetti. Boy, that got close. And that started way back in the braking zone for turn number 8. He wasn't even trying to put a pass on the 78 of Roman DeAngelis. He was just trying to brake, and he caught a slick spot on the track, and he was along for a ride for a lot of it.
He was trying to see how fast he'd go through the corner, and quite honestly, it looked as though he went a little faster than he wanted to.
The problem there is that he was about 0.3 of a second behind second place Roman DeAngelis in the 78, and now he's over 2 seconds further adrift, so it really did cost him a lot. He's now just over 5 seconds behind your race leader, the 98 of Zachary Robichon.
And Roman DeAngelis at the exit of turn number 5, coming up on one of the people a little further down the scoring monitor. Will have to drive around him through turn number 6 underneath the bridge. As the cars come up the straightaway, has gotten by, as does the Rossetti number 96 car. And it looks as though Remo Rossetti really has his work cut out for him if he's going to catch him up, as we're slowly but surely closing in on 12 minutes remaining.
It looks like the fog is getting a little bit heavier once again. From our position here in turn number 10, it does look a little bit more dense than it has been for the last 10 minutes or so, as DeAngelis working his way through lap traffic. Here comes the 96 of Remo Ricchetti as well. Still your race leader, it's worth saying. Race leader is still Zachary Robichon, who has led since the initial drop of the green and has rarely set foot wrong here today. He's done a wonderful job in very challenging conditions here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park behind the wheel of his Mark Motors number 98. Zachary Robichon has opened up a lead of just about 2.5 seconds on his young teammate, the 78 of Roman DeAngelis. But Remo Ricchetti, who was once 5.3 seconds not a lap ago, he's now 3.8 seconds behind your race leader. So that means he's even closed the gap on second place, Roman DeAngelis. So the driver on the move once again is the 96 of Remo Ricchetti. And as I say that, problems for the open road number 96 of Ricchetti. And it looks like he has caught concrete. You can see the white marks along the left side, and the deck lid is loose on the back end of that car as it's still running. He's going to be able to drive back to the pit area. Just over 10 minutes remaining in this 45-minute timed race.
Literally trying to battle his way through turn number 3, and it got away from him at the entrance to the corner. There's a lot of runoff area there, but he used up almost all of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about turn number 3. You've seen in turn number 8, there's a paved runoff area with a little strip of grass in between. Turn number 2, you have a paved runoff area right up to the tire wall. Turn number 3, you don't have that luxury. If you make a mistake in turn number 3,
you hang on.
You have grass, and then you have a tire wall. And unfortunately, when you get on wet grass, it doesn't slow you down very quickly.
Oh, and actually, when you go from the asphalt to the grass, the differential of friction literally feels as though you accelerate. It's it's terrifying.
Unfortunate end to well, it's not quite over for the open road racing entry, the 96 of Remo Ricchetti, as he does not go down pit lane. He'll stay out and try and finish out this one. still in third place, believe it or not, just ahead of Stefan Rudzinski as they cross the stripe. So about a half second in between those two drivers. So your leader continues to be Zachary Robichon. The 98 is teammate Roman DeAngelis, and the 78 is about 2.5 seconds behind your race leader. Then you have to go back 38 seconds to Raymond Ricchetti in the 96, and just behind him, less than a second, as I mentioned, Stefan Rudzinski in the number 8.
Stefan Rudzinski, I can't help but imagine the crew is on the radio saying, if you can find another second or two, you got a podium spot, buddy, because he's right on his tail, and Rudzinski's misfortune may yet cost him a podium spot.
You never know at this point. Again, just under 10 minutes to go in this one. Now, if you hear the name Rudzinski and you think, wait a second, that rings a bell. Why does that name sound familiar? If you follow the Race of Champions, that's an annual event that's held with pretty popular drivers. I mean, you've got F1 champions, champions from IndyCar, NASCAR. They all take part in that race, and they race each other. It's sort of match races. It's sort of a stunt exhibition in identically prepared cars. Well, if you remember a couple of years ago, they were putting together teams from different countries, and Stefan Rudzinski won the chance to go and represent Canada along with James Hinchcliffe, and actually had a great run. Everybody thought, okay, who is this guy? And he's just going to drive out there, and he'll be done in an awful hurry. He'll be beaten in a flash. It didn't happen that way. He won a couple races, and a lot of the professional drivers sat up and took notice and said, wait a second, this guy can drive, and now he has his opportunity here in a Porsche GT3 Cup car from Edmonton, Alberta. So he does have an opportunity to show just how well he can drive, and holding down fourth spot here today.
And all he's got to do is find a second. He's got 8 minutes to make his way up to the third podium spot for sure. And have perhaps another surprise for everybody that looks at their resume and says, hey, this kid can drive. Good stuff.
100%. The 35 of Michael DeMeo in fifth spot ahead of his teammate, the 16 of Jeff Kingsley. DeMeo having a great run in his first ever start in the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada by Yokohama, the Policaro Porsche Center Oakville entry. If you're looking at the Policaro Motorsport entries, he's the blue one. Jeff Kingsley will be the red one. 35, racing in front of a hometown crowd is Michael DeMeo from Toronto, Ontario. Started in go-karts many years ago, has worked his way up through the racing ladder, and now finds himself behind the wheel of a Porsche GT3 Cup car. Looking very, very much at home. So just taking a look at the timing charts, 0.3 of a second now, the battle for third and fourth. And there goes your race leader, Zachary Robichon, down the back straightaway in the 98. His teammate, Roman DeAngelis, is about 4 seconds behind, so he can still see the taillights, but not by very much, as Zachary Robichon has had a great outing here today. As I mentioned, rarely put a foot wrong, as he has led all 38.5 minutes so far here today. Not a mark on that race car, as he's just put in consistent lap after consistent lap. And another problem for Remo Ricchetti, and that is in turn 4, as he found himself backed into the tire wall, and again more damage to the back end of the open road number 96. But he'll be able to keep going. We'll take another look at what happened. He was racing with Stefan Rudzinski, who managed to get around the 96, and Ricchetti was trying to come back on him on the outside, and just lost the back end of the open road number 96, and around he went, caught the tire wall, again, just barely. Not a substantial hit, but that car might be a little bit worse for wear, but it's still out there. And Ricchetti passing by our spot here in turn number 10, and we'll head on to the front straightaway once again. Still in the top 5 position, believe it or not, with all the fireworks that he's seen so far here today. Ricchetti crosses the line in 4th spot. Still on the lead lap, believe it or not. As your race leader still continues to be Zachary Robichaux. As we mentioned, a couple of years ago as a rookie in this division, he had a couple race wins here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He finished last season with a race win here in the fall race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and it looks like Zachary Robichaux, with 5 minutes to go in this one, well on his way here today after picking up a couple of GT3 Cup Challenge Canada wins at Sebring to open the season. A 12-point lead over Roman DeAngelis coming into or actually over Remo Ricchetti coming into this one. Roman DeAngelis 14 points back. It looks like DeAngelis going to pick up a couple markers on Ricchetti here today. Holding down a solid second place in the 78 is Roman DeAngelis out of Bell River, Ontario. Pair of Mark Motors entries 1 and 2. And Stefan Rudzinski in his second drive behind the wheel of a Porsche GT3 Cup car in a podium position, sitting in 3rd spot. Again, 48 seconds adrift of your race leader, but still in a podium position, having a solid learning race, I should say, for Stefan Rudzinski. Again, the first time he's driven this car in the wet conditions, so very, very different from the dry conditions that you tested in or have done any races in previous. Sebring obviously was 2 dry races. Now the first time that this car has seen a wet track for Stefan Rudzinski. See the windshield wiper still going strong for the 78 of Roman DeAngelis as he works his way through turn number 1 once again. Give you an idea of lap times. It appears as though Zachary Robichaux not really letting up on his best lap of the day so far, 132.3. That's been his top and the fastest lap of the race so far. But his last lap, a 132.9, so he's not really too far off his fastest lap of the day. The only other driver down in the 132s at this point is Roman DeAngelis in the 78. Holding down 2nd spot. You can still see Remo Ricchetti is still out on the racetrack. The rear wing just a little bit crooked after making contact with the tire wall a couple of times during this 45-minute timed race. Your race leader still Zachary Robichaux as he works through turn number 1. He's got no cars in front of him, no cars behind at this point. He can sit back and relax a little bit. Not that he is doing that. He's still pushing very, very hard at the front of the field. About a 4-second lead over 2nd place, the 78 of Roman DeAngelis. And now your race leader will see the number 96 of Ricchetti. You see how crooked that rear wing is on the open road, number 96, and the front headlight appears to be askew as well on the Ricchetti mobile, and Zachary Robichaux will go through, and here comes Roman DeAngelis as well, as he'll see the driver who was once pressuring him for most of about half an hour of this race. Ricchetti was filling the rear view mirrors of the 78 of Roman DeAngelis. In through turn number 8 for the number 98 of Zachary Robichaux. Turn 9 now. You'll see he'll come on to the home stretch here at turn number 10. Still up on the outside in the wet race groove. For your race leader, the number 98 of Zachary Robichaux. The 78 is Roman DeAngelis holding down second spot. One more lap to go for your race leader, Zachary Robichaux, this time by. So DeAngelis just a little bit too far back to make an actual attempt at the race lead here in the final lap, unless the 98 of Zachary Robichaux makes a mistake here in the final few turns of this 45-minute timed race. Straightaway for the final time, Robichaux, his teammate Parent Mark Motors entries. The class of the field today here in the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama. Zachary Robichaux started on pole after winning round 1 and round 2 in Sebring, Florida. Roman DeAngelis started in third spot. Made quick work to jump up into second at the drop of the green, but off of turn number 10 for the final time, crossing the finish line and taking the checkers. The win will go to the 98 of Zachary Robichaux, followed home by the 78 of Roman DeAngelis, and third place will go to the 8 of Stefan Rudzinski, his first podium behind the wheel of a Porsche Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada by Yokohama car. So big congratulations to Stefan Rudzinski here today.